Buenas and half a day. My name is Mel Mendiola. Welcome to our panel on how defense actions spur economic development. So here in Guam, we live in this reality every day. Our island is just over 150,000 people with a significant U.S. defense presence. About a quarter of our land is owned by the DoD, and over 6,000 active duty personnel are stationed here, with another 5,000 or so planned, and their dependents, et cetera, et cetera. Defense spending already accounts for more than 1/3, more than 33% of Guam's GDP, the highest share of any U.S. state or territory. And with construction spending projected to peak soon, we're entering a period of unprecedented infrastructure investment, from missile defense to port improvements and military housing. The question we're exploring today is, how do we ensure the wave of defense-driven growth strengthens our economy in a sustainable and inclusive way, not just during the build-up years, but for generations to come? So I don't think we can find a better panel than these powerhouse women and Tay. Okay, this is gonna be the best, spiciest economic presentation ever. Usually when you hear from economists, it's boring AF, okay? And we are just not that, okay? So you get ready, everyone, because after this is infrastructure, and that'll get you right on ready for lunch. All right, so joining us today from the University of Guam, we have Dr. Roseanne Jones. We also have Mr. Tay O, Guam businessman, and the president of the Guam Chamber of Commerce. We have Ms. Christina Tina Garcia, the administrator and CEO of the Guam Economic Development Authority, and Dr. Mary Okada, president of the Guam Community College. Welcome, everyone. How about a hand of applause, round of applause? So to guide our discussion today, let me just, let's highlight 4 key channels through which defense actions shape economics. Jobs and workforce. So defense buildup creates direct jobs in uniform and civilian service, and indirect jobs through contractors and suppliers. Infrastructure, projects like access roads, utilities, and housing. Small business ecosystems, so military procurement and service member spending can stimulate local entrepreneurship and supply chains. Innovation and spillovers, technology developed for defense often fuels civilian applications. But we all know that there are risks on over-reliance on defense dollars, strain on civilian infrastructure, and vulnerability in federal priorities shift. I'm gonna kick us off with one question, and this is a yes-no question. Are we is our island over-reliant on defense spending to keep our economy intact, or to keep our economy where it is stable? Dr. Jones, yes, no?
No.
Tay?
No.
Tina?
Absolutely not.
Dr. Okada?
No.
Wow, I like this. The glass half full kind of group we got here. I disagree. We have 33% of our GDP reliant on tourism, defense. Defense held us up during the pandemic, so tell me why. Tell me why. Dr. Jones?
I see talent every day at the School of Business and Public Administration. I see next generation leaders, workers. When they first showed up for their first day of the semester, the new incoming freshmen, I asked them to stand up just because they'd been sitting for a while. And then I asked them to remain standing if they were working. More than 2/3 of those in the room remained standing. So they are all working. And they're all, it's not so much for me workforce development, and it's not so much the existing economy, because so much is changing. This is about workforce transformation. These young people come to us already in the workforce, and they come to us sometimes with their own gig economy going on. They are entrepreneurs, they get it, they figure out how to make things work, how to make money for themselves and their families in new and novel ways. And also, the elephant in the room is AI. And I think it's going to make transformative change in how we educate and how we deliver and what it does to our economy. So my answer no here is with the forward-looking outlook that defense spending is going to, it's peaking, and it will transform itself and become a mainstay of our economy. But I look forward to this panel talking about how we get from that defense infusion of monies that we had so that it remains with us and looks forward to this, to the population that's here that will be carried forward. I look forward to new industry, new private sector, public sector development, and that's the basis for my answer of no. I'll look forward that no, if we get this right, if we look at workforce transformation.
Workforce transformation, I like where this is going. Tate?
Well, Mel, I don't want to be a stickler, but at the same time, I'm not really comfortable with the word reliant. I think that's the wrong way to put it. I think, as a matter of fact, I think the public sector is relying on the private sector to deliver. We had so much limitation, when it comes to public policies. There's a lot of movement towards, this build-up and all of the construction that's going on. But without a private sector being there, none of that is actually even possible. So I think it's the other way around. I think the public is relying on the private sector to deliver.
Well, I think that's a great point. The hotels, the tourism industry in Tumon Bay has served dual purposes, not only for the tourism industry, but also to house our military service members in times of rotating in and out, as well as the exercises from around the region.
You're absolutely right. Without the private sector being there, providing innovation solutions, I think a lot of the public sector and a lot of their policies wouldn't even be able to implement and realize, getting to that point and serving that mission.
All right, so now with Tina, I don't know much about what Tina does at the Guam Economic Development Authority, but I know that when Tina goes out to talk about, to issue public debt on behalf of the government of Guam, they consistently ask about military. How does that fit as far as importance with our overall economy, and how did that shift how you answered your question?
Thank you, Mel. Yes, GITA is part of the government of Guam, but we are very business related. We work on financing needs for the government, but we also work very hard to support our local businesses in either financing or programs to help them build and grow. As that intermediary between the public and the private sector, we keep a pulse on what's happening in the private sector. We want to make sure that government services continue to support that growth, that we find ways for those that need additional support. But with this military buildup, we are working closely to ensure that our small businesses are aware of that opportunity, taking advantage of that opportunity. We're listening to them on what the needs are, and we're helping to support them through either direct financing, investments, and then working with the important education sectors to ensure that is continually supported, the growth for our small businesses and industries.
Thank you, Tina. And Dr. Okada, Guam Community College plays a vital role in workforce readiness. A lot of the workforce that you've been preparing has been directly tied to the military buildup. But despite that, you answered no. Tell us why.
I'm going to start with the mission statement of the Guam Community College. The Guam Community College is a leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality, student-centered education and job training for Micronesia. And the reason why I say that is because, as Dr. Jones mentioned, our students that come to the Guam Community College are working. The biggest population of our students come right towards the end of the day after they've worked a long day. So our campus is full around 4 o'clock and sometimes till about 10 o'clock at night. And so we see the investment that the military has been providing as opportunities for students. We have been working tirelessly to engage with industry so that we can help them provide the workforce that they need to continue their work to support the military and to support the local economy. So, guided by our mission, we are here to provide the services and the workforce that is needed. Thank you.
Great, beautiful answer to our very first question. So our next question is, if defense spending slowed tomorrow, which sector would carry Guam forward? Anyone can answer except Tay. I'm just joking. How about Tate? Do you want to go ahead and kick us off with this one? If military spending were to slow down, or if there was a shift in priorities, and Guam's, the defense spending that made its way to Guam started to contract, what's the first thing that we should do?
Well, I think definitely there'll be issues when it comes to public tax collection, for sure. There's been a lot of tax revenue that's been provided to Guam through the whole military buildup. Public services would take an impact, for sure. Not only that, right now our tourism economy isn't exactly where we want it to be. And fortunately, you know, thanks to the military buildup, it's kind of held up the economy.
To insulate our economy? Yeah.
Yes, and but at the same time, you know, I truly believe that you know, we'll figure out a way. I think there's always a way where we can improve our economy. There's a lot of innovation and there's a lot of potential that Guam has. With the strategic location we have, I think you know, we'll eventually figure out a way to revive our economy.
Beautiful. Tina, can you, in 2020, during the pandemic, communities that were relying on one or two industries were especially vulnerable. We found that to be true right here in Guam. With that, Governor Leon Guerrero set up and paneled the Economic Diversification Working Group to explore other industries. What industries continue to be at the forefront of GITA's work towards economic diversification?
So GITA has been working in conjunction with some of the direction of the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration to find those industries that we could take advantage of to really grow Guam. And again, we're at that point where there is a lot of opportunity. Some of the areas we've looked at, of course, is expanding our agriculture and aquaculture, bringing in more smart farming. We are working on that. We're also working on transshipment and as well as pharmaceutical. And GITA's role, what we do with that is we start off first with a feasibility study to identify the potential, to identify the strengths and the weaknesses. And then we work together with our private sector partners to tackle those challenges. And at some point, we will then continue on with outreach for business partnerships, both on island, in Asia, as well as in the US. So again, Guam being positioned as the first US soil closest to Asia provides an opportunity there, and vice versa with the US companies coming into Asia. So wherever we can find that opportunity, we work closely with our private sector, and we try and capture that opportunity to grow, to build sustainability for the island, and again, with focuses on those growth industries.
Great, thank you. The business privilege tax represents nearly 20% of Government of Guam's general funds, and defense activity has boosted its outperformance over the years. It's my view, my view doesn't matter, I'm the moderator, but one of the options is to redirect that excess revenue into things such as education, Guam Community College and the University of Guam. If the Guam Community College or University of Guam had access to that additional source of revenue from the BPT, where do you think it would be best redirected towards, insofar as building our economic resiliency? Dr. Okada?
So for the past several years, we've been focusing on workforce training. And I know you're going to ask this question, but I'm going to start answering it now. Because during the pandemic, what the college did was we set up a series of what we call boot camps. And the boot camps were designed to help people get back to work. And as a result of that, we've now finished, or we will be completing, our 15th ship repair boot camp. And we have great partnership with Cabras Marine and Guam Shipyard in that regard, because how we designed the boot camp was not to train students and then find employers. It was to find employers on the front end so that they can hire all the completers. And I say, like I said, 15 cohorts of ship repair. We did have paramedic training. I was so happy to read in the news the other day, although it was a sad event, that there was actually a paramedic that was on the in a response to someone who was injured. And so that was very refreshing. So we now have paramedics on the ground. And we've had truck drivers and bus drivers and certified nurse assistants, IT professionals. So we've developed a series of boot camps that actually help individuals identifying employers ahead of time to help get them through the industry to help support what is needed. And so I would say workforce development, you know, long-term vision, maybe something we should always consider is that maybe the first 2 years of college should be free. Maybe it should be free because everybody needs to go to work. Everybody's going to need a job. So maybe we should provide that opportunity to them, either in the form of expanded dual credit so that they can graduate from high school with a certificate or an associate's degree or something similar. But I think investment in education is going to take us a really long way.
Great, beautiful. Dr. Jones, did you have anything to add to that?
Sure. What I would look to is let's continue to build upon our strengths. One is financial services. The other is telecommunications. We're advancing in cybersecurity. And we're also looking at other areas of, for example, disaster management, which are so vital to our island. We already have investments there. I'd look for how do we build out some of that. Going forward with the new and novel, what I would look to is the advances in advanced manufacturing that will enable us to produce component parts that are needed here for our industry, look at industrial development and sustaining a modern industrial development. And I'd also look through at advancing cybersecurity advances in technologies. We also have a challenge with transshipment and bringing the Marianas into a regional profile. And I'd look at economic cooperation and development that investments could transfer through the region, looking at local markets here. So I'd be looking at investments in some of the drone technologies and transshipment and other advances of supply chain logistics.
Are our kids ready for that, Dr. Jones? Dr. Okada, you sit on the board of the Department of Education. Are our kids ready for training in cybersecurity, AI, and all
We
the
need to
trades that you
get
just
them
spoke
ready.
to?
We need to get them ready. I mean, we recognize that there is, not just at the Guam Department of Education, but we also have charter schools that focus on STEM. And so we need to really encourage students at much younger ages, not wait till they get to high school to identify what opportunities are available for them. So if we're not completely ready, we need to get ready because there's a lot of demand from industry to reach students as early as elementary school.
Right.
And to let them recognize and understand what those jobs are going to look like so that they can get a feel for it early on and they can start making the appropriate decisions going forward. I will say that oftentimes, not just at the community college, but oftentimes students come to us unprepared. They come to us unprepared, not knowing what they want to do. And so we shouldn't be waiting to address those issues when they walk through our door. We need to address them a lot sooner.
Tina, what are Gita's observations about our workforce at the moment?
Well, a lot of our workforce has always been, the majority has been in support of our tourism industry, but as Dr. Okada said, there is more evolution going into technology. We're seeing, from the young kids, I think I saw something where in the States they're starting to teach coding to 5-year-old kids because they're already familiar with the computer systems. But I think our workforce is in a prime opportunity to expand their knowledge. We also supported workforce investment at GCC for the childcare industry to get them involved and evolved into higher management positions. And so wherever we can take that opportunity Workforce development is a priority for us in both technology as well as in other skilled areas like manufacturing and engineering and in maritime industry.
Beautiful. Communities like San Diego have leveraged defense presence into innovation clusters to create a vibrant and resilient economy, while smaller towns next to bases have often been squeezed out due to competition for talent, and then when the military base contracts its presence, the jobs go away. For Guam, the stakes are high, and is this something, do we already see that? And what are some of the, first off, maybe we'll speak to the private sector first. Tay, does the private sector see the Department of Defense and its supporting industries stealing talent from the other industries in the private sector? Number one. And the follow-up to that question is, how do we mitigate and just make the pool a little bigger? What do you think, man?
Well, definitely. I don't really see it as stealing talent from the private sector. I think the way I see it is giving opportunities to the residents here on Guam. I mean, as a matter of fact, you know, I grew up here, right? But when I first graduated from high school, there wasn't an engineering school here. So I had to go off island to go to an engineering school. And thanks to, you know, UOG's engineering school and also GCC's development of their engineering technicians and survey technicians, we've been able to meet some of that demand. But the fact is, the demand is very high right now. And we need to understand that we have to give those opportunities, those great opportunities to our local population first. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we could fill that. So then this is where, you know, filling that labor, we need to bring in some H2 laborers or whether H1B laborers in order to provide that and fill that need. And I believe that there is a permanent need right now. There's a lot of engineering jobs out there. DOD, Department of War, actually has a hard time filling those needs. And eventually, some of those jobs are being filled by off-island, you know, labor force. But eventually, I think we need to get to a point where we could fill that with local labor force and also with local talent.
Do you see, Dr. Okada or Dr. Jones, do you see there being a current mismatch in our workforce wherein there's this kind of a war for talent? I mean, there's already kind of, in America, nationwide, finding good workers is a tough task. That has nothing to do with the military. That has to do with something called Gen Z. But what about for Guam? Is it even further exacerbated by the DOD presence? And what is the transition from there? Or Dr. Jones?
A lot in that question, where to jump in. Again, I'm very privileged to see our students and our alums and where they go and what they do. And I'm also privileged to give ourselves some credit here. We're a population of recent count estimate is 167,000. There's 67,000 eligible to be in the civilian workforce, and 65,000 are. And what we do, we are a small community, and we run an international airport. We run 2 hospitals. We have a thriving business community. We have a local government. We have a federal government. We have federal services. And the reality is that we're filling all of those immediate demand with the best talent that we've got. And I think everybody gives it their all. Are they a perfect fit? No. Are they engaged in training and development with their companies and with their agencies? Yes, they are. What we need to do is look beyond that and say, how do we advance the incoming students and what they bring to the table? And I think they are ready. In a previous question, it made me think of the drone corps at the University of Guam. Here's a bunch of students who know how to run and operate drones. So that's not necessarily planned. It's happening from grassroots, but it's also happening with our agencies that are trying to advance the talent to move the economy forward. As we do look forward, I think that there are many opportunities to take advantage of what the defense investment has been, and it's upon us to think about how do we carry forward from that. And I'm looking at places like Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama. The script is already out there. They turned around a World War II chemical plant, and with some local investment, turned that into a whole enterprise with aerospace and other development. They now have a $27 billion economy. And I challenge us to look at the investment that has been made and the resources and capacity that's being given to us or built up for us with the military and with our own participation, to say, how do we follow Huntsville's lead? How do we follow Silicon Valley's lead? That didn't happen without some federal investment, usually through defense spending, and we need to conceptualize what our outlook is going to be beyond just this flow of capital that's coming in here. What do we make of it?
I was just at a conference and I was chatting with a lady from Omaha sitting next to me, and she said, "Oh yeah, Omaha is Silicon Prairie." I said, "Look at you. Guam is Silicon Village." And these are the things that we aim for in economic development. Yes, now shifting gears as we talk about economic development and growth, and I'm glad you brought that up, Dr. Jones, about investment of government in creating these public-private partnerships across the nation. You see urban renewal and urban revitalization, where you take a town that's looking a little tired and you bring in some tax incentives and things along those lines. Tina, can you see something like that working for Guam, specific to building things that are mutually beneficial to the civilian population as well as the defense population?
Right, thank you. So one of the things that we've identified in our management team is there is a need to come together, both public-private sectors in forums like this, but to come together to build a comprehensive plan, a strategy moving forward. We want to hear from our private sector what their expectations are of government, what your plans are to support private sector. But on the same token, we want to also bring in our young students to also participate. I believe that once we put together this comprehensive plan from start to end, people can then start planning what they want to do, how they can support. You put it out there. We're going to have a drone industry, a manufacturing, a maritime, and in the next 5 years, these are the jobs expected, these are the opportunities, these are the businesses we spoke to. I think with that going on, we lay out that plan, and then other areas can grow and become involved. And again, ultimately, we want to work to bring some of our island folks that have already moved off island to come back, because they see that they can contribute. I think that's the biggest thing, is how can we all come together to contribute to the next 5-year, 10-year growth opportunity. And so, we really want to continue the dialogue. We really want to, come together and create the policy, create the opportunity for our future. Again, it's how to build, how to take advantage of today to plan for tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. And GITA, the Guam Economic Development Authority, often serves as the catalyst between the private sector and the public sector to bring the stakeholders together. Let's hear from our private sector stakeholders. Tay, what are your thoughts about this, basically about mutually beneficial infrastructure projects, maybe X-infrastructure, since that's going to be covered in the next panel, but on topics like urban revitalization and renewing parts of our island with the additional monies that come into our island via the buildup, and the role of the private sector in that?
Well, I have a lot to say about that, but I'll keep it short.
I know you do. That's
Yeah.
why I asked you.
Yeah. So what the challenges we're facing here on Guam is when it comes to public infrastructure, we could have more affordable housing. Like example, affordable housing can only be built economically when we have the infrastructure already in place, right? Now, if the infrastructure isn't there, the cost just goes up.
Right.
For a normal developer, instead of costing, let's say, $200,000 to build a home, it might cost $500,000
Because you're
to build a
bringing
home.
in infrastructure
You're bringing
to
in
that
infrastructure.
area that does not
Correct.
currently have it
Correct.
delivered.
Now, I see this opportunity as like once in a lifetime golden opportunity where we can indeed bring infrastructure not only for military use, but also for our civilian use. And when that happens, when that teamwork works, the private sector can also get involved and innovate it and improve it by building neighborhoods that can truly provide that affordable housing, or whether it's affordable housing or whether it's infrastructure upgrades, and also telecommunication needs that is so vital to cybersecurity needs that we have here on the island. So yes, there's definitely a lot of spillover and also a lot of benefits we could see here on the island. And I truly believe we need to take an approach where we can't think of this as a military, Gov Guam, and a private sector issue. I think we need to all come together and realize this is a one Guam issue. And if we can work together, I'm sure we could find a solution to provide a solution to a lot of the needs that we have on the island.
Absolutely. I think many people remember Build Up 1.0 when there was a kind of a one Guam that adopted key tenets to how we'd like to see this build-up affecting our economy. Perhaps it's time for a renewal of, maybe it's time for, one Guam 2.0,
I totally agree.
right?
Yep.
Okay. And then, let's turn it to a little, because this is an economics panel, and I would be remiss to talk, to leave today without talking numbers. What is the best way to measure the true impact of defense spending on our island? Is it GDP? Is it jobs? Is it tax collections? Let's go down the panel, starting with the professor, so we can, starting with Dr. Jones, so we can all build off her answer. Go ahead, Dr. Jones.
My answer is defense multiplier. Right now, the best number is 0.75. So for every dollar in defense spending, we retain 0.75, which means, this may sound good, but it means that we're not fully maximizing that. We're losing, there's leakage there. And we can see where the leakage is. It's our supplies that have to be brought in to support the military buildup. And also our leakage of perhaps inefficient workforce or lack of workforce that is not allowing us to maximize the full flow of investment that's happening here. So that would be my recommendation. Pay attention to the multiplier.
Well, the defense multiplier only works at its maximum capacity when there's a reduction from time of impact of the additional monies to getting out there in the community. So it sounds to me like there just needs to be everyone needs to drink some coffee and get going here.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan of, I've been on many strategic plans and planning, and in my own organization, I kind of said, let's just have some strategic action. Can we all know what we're doing and just go do that? So make things happen, and I think that's going to up our multiplier.
Great, thank you. Tay? The best way to measure the true impact of defense spending?
I think at the end of the day is really going to be how much of that money is really staying here. Okay, I mean we could have many companies come here and do a lot of the jobs here that we need. But if all that money is going outside the island, I don't think that's really improving the conditions for Guam. When we have companies that come here, hire local people, spend that investment into improving the island, I think, and providing that job and providing government revenues all at the same time. I think that's a true indication of the benefits of the build-up.
Yeah, carpetbaggers go home. Yes, support local. All right.
Support local, yes, for
Tina,
sure.
what you got?
What I like to say is that measuring the true impact of defense spending, again, we would need timely GDP, tax collection, and job growth data. But I think we also have to measure other growth factors to include housing, healthcare, education, and impact. So measuring the affordability of housing,
Absolutely.
growing our healthcare industry jobs. I mean, really focus in on those industries that we can show that we're having strong progress.
Not just the economic resiliency by the size of our paychecks, but the healthcare resiliency, the food security, and factors
Yes,
such as that.
absolutely.
100%. Dr. Okada.
Personally and professionally, I like to save money because there's a rainy day. If it's not tomorrow, it's coming, and you're going to need that funding. So part of the success for the college has been able to identify what needs are in the forefront and how we're going to fund it. We've had a couple of opportunities that we've been provided a windfall of money from the federal government, and we put it directly into first in classroom and instructional support, and then we also used it for infrastructure so that we can maximize the life of the infrastructure that we had. And so I like to save money, but I also like to make sure that we have money for what's important. And what's important for the Guam Community College is ensuring that individuals that come to the campus, that we're able to provide them with the education they need to succeed. So we're about helping to support those that want the education and the industries and helping to build capacity here on the island so that people can stay. So because people are leaving because opportunities exist elsewhere. So if we can create the local capacity, not just in the government sector, but in the private sector, and provide them with wages that they can, sustain their families, I think that's a benefit for all of us here on Guam.
Most definitely. Thank you, Dr. Okada. There's this, Dr. Jones and I have spoken about this, the squeezing out effect, wherein one industry starts to cannibalize aspects of other industries. That's one of the biggest things that we'd like to see protected. Okay, we have time for one or two questions from the audience. Anyone? In the back, Leah Beth?
Okay, it's on. Good morning, everybody. And I sat here yesterday listening intently to all the speakers. And I heard about technology, innovation, STEM. But we also, they also talk about for mostly on GCC and University of Guam. But we need to engage our students from K to 12. We need to build capacity. I see the average age of all of us here, maybe 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe too late. I echo Dr. Okada's sentiment on when the students come to GCC and university, they don't know what to do because we don't engage with them. We've been winning competitions internationally and stateside. So we need to engage our kids, start them young. They're very engaged in AI and STEM and innovation. But we need to have a seat at the table as well, Guam Department of Education. Please don't forget us. Start them young so that we can get their interest. We used to have a STAR-based program at the National Guard, which is a STEM-based curriculum base. It's all STEM. But we need to get that continuous. None of us here are going to be, here maybe tomorrow or whenever, but we need to start them young. So it's a plea. It's not a question, but let's get our kids, get interested in this programs that this forum offers. Thank you very much.
All right, any other questions before we wrap
Can
up?
I add one thing to that, Mel? Mel?
Oh, yes. Okay.
I just wanted to add one thing to what our guests asked. Growing up here in Guam, I kind of see we have a brain drain issue. There's a lot of talent, don't get me wrong, okay? But I think what's important is instilling in these K to 12 individuals that there's great opportunities coming back home. I think
Yes.
we need to instill that at a young age. Whether they decide to stay here for college or not, we have a lot of talent that go off island, that get educated in the mainland. Some of them decide to come back, some of them don't. My personal experiences has been there's a lot of good opportunities here on Guam, and I tell my friends that, and I tell all my colleagues that there are true opportunities, and you guys need to consider coming back home. And so, if we could instill that on our young, I think eventually trying to get them back home is one thing, but also trying to keep them here is another issue, right?
Most definitely. All right. Any other questions?
Tony Chargloff from Binalahan. Oops. Tony Chargloff, resident of
Okay, there.
Binalahan. Yes, so I have a food for thought. And so earlier on at the onset of this panel, the question was raised is what do we do when the military funding starts dwindling down? And I know that there's a proposal out, or maybe it was approved already, for $10 million to be given to airline incentives. The one thing I want to speak about is the veterans. We here in Guam, based on the numbers at DMV, we have 25,000 veterans here in Guam. Very small percentage of that group has filed for compensation. My proposal is to incentivize for the veterans to go out there and apply. For whatever reason, one or two, they just failed to apply simply because they heard of the harsh process that you got to go through, all the denials they've heard from everybody. But please think about these numbers. 25,000. If only 15,000 of these guys applied and they're getting compensated at $4,000 a month, that brings in $60 million a month just from the veterans alone. Annually, that's $720,000. If all 25,000 of those veterans applied and we're getting at least $4,000 a month, that's $1.2 billion annually, or $100 million a month. So what my proposal, and I'm glad we have the senators here, create an incentive, let's just say $10 million. Put up an incentive for the veterans that are out there to go out there and apply. $100 pay less, $100 gas, $100 at Home Depot, whatever. Incentivize the program so that they can go and apply and avail of the services, coming here so that we can get compensated and bring that new revenue stream, as opposed to always thinking outside, tourists. And because we learned from COVID that we cannot really rely on that market anymore. And we're not only that, but we're competing with Hawaii and every other destination for the same market share. Thank you.
All right, and with that, I love that there's, the one thing I know that discussions like this do is it percolates and everybody gets thinking about how to infuse more money into the economy, and that is always a good thing, I think. And so that is one way I think this panel has done its job, whether the money is coming from veterans benefits or tax incentives, the federal government, local appropriations, etc. So Guam has always been at the crossroads of strategy and community, and defense spending is not just about bases and budgets, it's about shaping the future of our workforce, our businesses, and our way of life. And if we do this right, we can convert short-term defense dollars into long-term community resilience to strengthen our education, diversify our economy, and build dual-use infrastructures that serve both mission and civilians. Thank you to our panelists. A round of applause, please. And to all of you for joining us as we chart the path forward for Guam's economic future. Thank you.